Hey everyone, I'm Coach Wolverine.
Coach Kelowna.
And this is another Conversation Over Drinks. And today we're going to talk to you about when the last time you cleaned your dirty laundry is. Clearly, I do not mean literal laundry.
Say metaphorically.
Metaphorically. I'm talking about really going over and analyzing the content that you're consuming, be it social media, be it TV media, music, radio, whatever. When's the last time you did this?
2 weeks ago.
Oh, well. All right.
No, I decided to take a full inventory of like even how I'm organizing everything.
Okay.
Because normally, I recently moved, went through some stuff. Normally, like living out of boxes for a few weeks wouldn't be a big deal. But I'm like looking at the boxes on the floor and I'm like, okay, like no. So I got some. I got some I just like immediately ordered some organizers and stuff, folded all my stuff. Also, if we're gonna talk about actual laundry, how awful is folding? Like doing laundry is fine, but like folding sucks.
I hang most of my stuff.
Good for you. I'm ordering a rack before we leave today, because that does sound much better. But that whole thing, right? Like even just being like, I'm no longer comfortable with this. What am I going to do about it? Yeah. And I think that would be considered in the dirty laundry thing. And I did want to add on your list is like the people around you. What type of energy are they giving off, and what type of consumption do you have from those conversations?
That's like next level of depth in that in itself. It's a good addition. So I did a big major one of these things at the beginning of the year because I had a ton of, let's say on social media, I had a ton of people I was either following or friends with, whatever platform it was, of back when I was modeling, back when I was heavier in the fitness industry, when I owned the gym and was doing personal training, or just pure distraction that ended up turning into garbage, where I even started asking myself, like, why in the heck am I watching this? Like, this literally adds no value to my life. But I didn't do it, and I wouldn't get rid of it, and I wouldn't get rid of it until it built up, until that time where I decided to clean everything out. And as I was cleaning everything out, I started noticing that a lot of the accounts that I was trying to unfollow, it was hard for me to unfollow them. It was like I was holding on to something. Whether it be the distraction, whether it be more often than not it was a distraction, but then so I would ask myself, what am I distracting myself from that this is now creating value for me?
Keep going, I have a question after.
And so it was very, dependent on who it was, right? Like I'll be honest, there were some people that I was following, I'm like, yeah, this is a good looking person. Is it adding value to me? No. But I found myself justifying, like, oh, I want to keep this person. And then that's when I realized, no. If I'm justifying of why I'm keeping this person in my feed or in my content and social media and consistently seeing it without having a legitimate reason, it's got to go.
Absolutely. I mean, I've done it. I've gone through a few times, and like I used to follow a lot more like joke pages and stuff because it's like, hey, I can always I see funny stuff, I share funny stuff. That's kind of my question is where would you put entertainment in a hierarchy of things? Like, because entertainment would hold value.
It would. To me, it's like, what type of entertainment is it? Is it just smut? Mm-hmm. Or is it entertainment that you genuinely find funny, right? Because that's one of those things where it's like, so you're following a recipe page. Well, I mean, it's got legitimate recipes on it that you like. So like that adds value to your life, right? But for myself to have models on my page when I'm no longer doing the modeling thing, that's not adding value to my life. No. It's a distraction. And so I had to get rid of them. I had, I'm no longer personal training, so I don't need to have all of these athletes, or I'm not competing in powerlifting anymore. I don't need to have these athletes that are, plugging up my page. But what I do prefer and what I recommend is things that, are opportunistic or growth. Something that makes you actually feel good. Not something that you're sitting there and comparing yourself to is like, well, why is this person doing better than me?
And I think me, like when I started coaching, that was a big thing. I'm like, I'm going to go follow everybody and see what they're doing. No, stop it. I've gone as far as people I even know personally, but they do not post stuff that I care for, I will keep them there because it's a network thing, because there's a value in your network, but I've muted their accounts. So their stuff their stories and their posts will no longer show up. Sorry.
Sorry, but not sorry.
But I'm sorry, they don't post stuff that's relevant to me in any way, shape, or form. But there's still a connection there that if it's ever needed, or I would like them to know, like, hey, like I'm putting all this stuff out, and I hope my stuff has value. And I would assume people have muted my stuff because it's literally been 2 years of me in the gym every day posting on my story. But
I've had tons of people unfollow my accounts because they don't like the content, and you know what? It is what it is. Right?
That's okay. If the goal is to provide value, and we understand that value is not going to be accepted by everyone, it's okay. It's a part of what we do, right? If we didn't have an opinion, then we wouldn't expect people to leave.
Yeah, this is true. And like one other avenue too of what, a lot of people do and like to hold on to something, the past, is when those of us keep following exes, keep following people of our past, that we may or may not actually be friends with anymore, but we follow them just to keep tabs on them and just see to either feed our ego that we're doing better than them or to make sure that they're not doing better than us.
And I think that harks to the competition part of Instagram. And we've spent at length talking about it before. Everything being posted on Instagram, for lack of a better term, is garbage. Right? Like it's fake. It doesn't matter.
It's the facade of having everything figured out.
You're getting 1 millisecond, maybe a 10-second video out of someone's entire day. They could have the worst day ever, and they just like went and looked off a patio, smiled, took a picture. Like it's the reality of it is, right? Stop comparing yourself to photos. If you want to compare yourself, then you're in the wrong place anyway. But like have a genuine conversation, because chances are everything that you've thought about this person because of their posts, probably there's some other stuff going on.
But that's what I mean, right? So if you're still following your exes or you're still following your, these people of your past that you're comparing yourself to, and every single time you look at this content and you feel like garbage afterwards, why do we continuously subject ourselves to that?
To a negative outcome.
Yeah.
Repeatedly.
Because it's addictive. Because it's an addictive cycle, because it actually stimulates our nervous system. It's the exact same thing as being addicted to the gaslighting and love bombing of a narcissist, right? It's that wave. And so the unfortunate reality is we as humans become very easily addicted to negativity. We become addicted to feeling bad because sometimes, and on the extreme end of mental health, sometimes feeling bad is better than feeling nothing.
Yeah, and that's like the numb feeling, right? And I know, like, hey, I'm just numb. Well, now you're numb negative.
Yeah, you're numb negative, but there's still some sort of stimulation there, whether it's addicted to the cortisol high or whatever it is. But, so like cleaning your dirty laundry, my question is, like, when you go through that stuff, are you justifying to yourself why you got to keep it? Because if it's something of value, you're going to know right away. This page, I legitimately love the humor. That one can stay. This page, I like these recipes. That one can stay. This page, it goes. It's that simple. But if we sit there because there's some sort of unhealthy attachment to it, but we don't like admitting that attachment to ourselves.
And I like to ask myself too, I'm like, if I drop this, what happens? If it's nothing, or there's like a negative outcome, which there's not because it's social media.
It's not real.
Yeah, like it's whatever. Like if the person's close, it'd be like, hey, if the person has an issue with it, and it's like, hey, why'd you unfollow me? It's like, hey, I don't like your stuff. Have a nice day.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that would be the reality of the conversation. Or like, hey, I'm sorry, you haven't posted anything in 3 years.
I've had friends actually tell me that they purposely don't follow me because they didn't want to consume my content and look at me a different way.
So there, which is another thing, right?
It's a completely different can of worms, eh? But it was interesting to be on the receiving end of like, I don't know how to receive this. Like, I mean, I value you saying that you want to keep the friendship intact, but at the same time, it's like, why does my content that's supposed to bring hope, why does that turn you off of our friendship?
And that's the other thing too, like if you're doing what you're passionate about, obviously, right? Anyone that is friends with you for the right reasons, or in your life for the right reasons, will support what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because it's clear that your content is not malicious. You have opinions, great, and opinions can be like opposed without severing a tie, which unfortunately with everything that's gone on in the last like 3 years, right, we have ran into a differing of opinions causing severed ties, and we think it's okay. It's not.
Yeah.
Right? Even in families, I know there's been some family issues and stuff too, but
Yeah.
we don't obviously not.
Whatever happened to like, you know, just agreeing to disagree and moving on with their lives like adults?
40's the new 20 or whatever.
Right? We don't have to learn how to deal with stuff until we don't know how to make new friends.
Yeah.
That's the other side of it too, I think, because of again, we've like ripped on social media a lot in the last few while for episodes, but like because we have access to so many people, severing a tie when there's 100 other options becomes a better option, whereas like making friends when you had to call them on a phone to talk to their mom to see if they're home, or bike over to their house. When you have friends, like you had friends forever because it's so hard to make friends. Right? It's still hard to make friends, but like,
What is your definition
It's
of
hard.
friends?
Yeah, it's hard to make genuine friendships still nowadays. Like I can probably count on my hand how many genuine friends I have still. That's like the rest of them are like, you know, good friends and acquaintances that I say hi to and have conversation. But to actually go and hang out with, it's not that many anymore.
no. And your circle naturally gets smaller, right? Life happens, blah, blah, blah. But is there effort in communicating at least? Like that's my whole thing. Like I know I've got people that I should reach out to more and have made a conscious effort to. And they're kind of the same way. They're like, man, like I'm sorry, like things are busy.
Yeah.
And they've apologized for not reaching out as well. But it's like to me, that's like a common effort. Cool. And literally it's like, could just be, hey, if you ever need anything, do not hesitate to call. Right? And if all our communications within a year, because I don't see them, is that every 3 months, they can still call me. And I hope they know they can call me, right? So
Yeah.
I know there's a statistic by communications and stuff annually, but I forget.
That would require remembering numbers.
I'm usually pretty good at it. It's not a lot. It's like 2 or 3 times throughout a year will put you in someone's circle to the point that would keep you in their network.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like even just moving off of social media content, the movies we consume, the music that we consume, right? Like, you know, when it comes to music, I'll listen to anything from heavy metal to orchestra, to be completely honest.
Just some good orchestra bops.
Yeah, right. You know, and you know, and everything in between. But the thing is there's a lot of the music out there where it's like if you actually listen to it and you're like, what is this?
Like, yeah, super popular music I'm not a huge fan of typically.
No, me either.
The heavy metal, like the screaming more than words, is not super my thing. Some days.
Some days.
In the gym. But like, I don't know how people can drive home in a nice summer day and listen to some death metal. I know, like, I don't get it. That doesn't check out for me.
It's a vibe.
I get it. Like, I understand.
I used to.
I understand that's a thing, but like, I'm like,
What makes you need to run on that high octane all day? I did actually, just for fun, to try something out, I changed my morning alarm to Spotify hard rock playlist. So like AC/DC hits at 8 a.m. some mornings, and I'm like,
I don't know if I'd like that.
I don't, but I let it happen. Yeah. It's fun. It changes every couple days.
Well, that is good. But okay, so the point of the question is to like once you actually start cleaning up this stuff and you start allowing yourself to be in your own thoughts, right? And I think that's why we hold on to a lot of the stuff, the content we consume is for distraction, right? Not being like when's the last time you just sat alone without your phone in your hand? Even just giving yourself 5 minutes. Right? It's
I'm
like
on
it's
my
not
phone
enough to
more
think.
than people should be, and I know, yeah.
And that's the thing, right? Is like intentionally doing something to be alone with our thoughts. But there's so many people out there, right? Myself included at certain times. We're afraid of our own thoughts. We're afraid of what's going on up here. So we are always seeking some sort of stimulus to keep ourselves distracted. Be it social media, be it music. Like I know so many people that always have something in their ear. I usually have a bud in my ear listening to an audiobook and whatnot. But that's not always good either.
Oddly enough, this would have been probably a year and a half ago. I made a post about being in a world of overstimuli, and like just ways to decompress your central nervous system as a whole. So for me, what an indicator is when I'm listening to music, if it's cranked and I go back to my phone and I click up and I'm like, I want this to be louder, but it can't go any louder.
Yeah.
That's when I know I'm overstimulated. So when I take a few days to de-stim, and it's like, for me, overstimulating is like, I'm on my phone, I'm watching a movie, I'm writing, I'm doing like 5 things at once, which a lot of us do, which is not good. That's a whole nother.
That's a completely other thing.
Yeah.
Multitasking is not a thing. It's not.
But overstimulating, even if it's just like background noise, I'll cut that out. So there's no music in the background, there's no shows in the background, there's none of that for like a good 10 to 20 days.
Where you can hear the pencil on the paper.
Kind of. I don't write a lot, but or just like listen to the keyboard clicks or whatever. Do one thing at a time to de-stim, and then make sure obviously you're getting your 8 hours of sleep. If you sleep without an alarm and you sleep for 10 hours, you have a sleeping problem. That's not a debate. You need to address your amount of sleep you're getting. But decompressing your central nervous system, I will get to the point where I'm listening to music and it's not cranked and it's too loud. So like your auditory, all of your senses are affected by an overstimulated CNS because it's basically saying like, hey, we're kind of capped,
Yep.
right? And we mentally, we're like, no, we're not. So we're trying to force it, louder music, more bass, more of this, more of that, more stimulus. I want to have fun. I want to feel this, blah, blah, blah.
Bigger dopamine hit.
Yeah. So just coming out of that it's actually a very short window of time. I mean, if you want to use caffeine as an instance, every 6 weeks, you should take 10 days off caffeine. Completely.
There's a lot of people that are not going to like that information.
Yeah.
I like coffee too.
I know. I do. I talk to people about caffeine, but yeah, it should be 10 days stim free completely.
I can definitely see the benefit of that because there is a time where it's just like, wow, this tastes good, but the coffee's broken because it's not waking me up anymore.
And the more I learn about that too, without getting too like facty, I guess, is like, I drink energy drinks because I don't like coffee. They're regulated heavily for caffeine content, etc. Coffee that you buy at wherever is not regulated for caffeine content. It's not regulated for sugar intake. It's not regulated for anything.
No,
So
but a counter argument is the energy drinks have caffeine anhydrous, which is
Fake caffeine.
horrible for the system.
Absolute. But
Again, like we know what's in them at least, right? So like
Yeah.
for me, someone who would analyze that, it's like, okay, I've had 400, 500 milligrams of caffeine today. Let's not have any more.
Yeah.
So
that's
just
fair.
understanding where your stimulus is coming from, and understanding the things that you consume are affecting and sometimes grossly affecting the way you're perceiving if these things are actually doing anything.
Yeah.
I know in the gym world, like pre-workout, really high stim pre-workout makes the workout feel cool, but actually makes the workout worse. So without getting into the science of that,
of outcomes. So.
Very much so, including blood sugar issues and all that stuff. But yeah, keeping it still on the track of the content is if you find yourself unable to do this, it's asking ourselves the question as to what is the why behind that. Why are you unable to clean your dirty laundry? Why are you unable to follow those accounts? Why are you unable to stop consuming music that you know probably shouldn't be, or listening to it overly cranked, or certain movies or whatever? And I understand sometimes it is just purely enjoyment, right? We do, and we're humans, we're entitled to have purely enjoyment, but when you're doing it to run and as an escape, that's when it's a problem.
and that to me is like anything in an extreme setting. Like I couldn't sit and watch like horror movies all day.
No,
I couldn't.
but it's the same thing for what's so with that type of stimulus. What is the next most common thing where a person will sit and do something like that all day?
Exactly.
Video games,
Which I have done.
right? Sitting there for hours on end playing video games. It's like, yeah, it's fun. Don't get me wrong. I used to do the same thing as a kid, but knowing that information when I was doing it as a kid is because I was escaping from my reality.
And it becomes habitual very quick,
Yeah.
right? And the thing with video games, just to touch on that, is it becomes more stimuli. There's auditory, there's visual, and there's tactile now, so you're adding in more things,
Yep.
which is why you get such extreme reactions out of these gamers.
Yep.
Positives, negatives, right? Like everyone sees it, laughs at these big like rage reels online. But it's because you're involving so much more stimuli. So the cortisol that you get from the anger, or the dopamine you get from like the winning, the losing, all of that is so much more extreme than if you were to just sit down and like watch a movie.
Well, it makes the rest of life very, very boring, right? Like, even our phones, when we're consistently sitting in our phones scrolling, it makes the rest of our life very, very boring, because we are consuming content of what seems to be all of these people that have a perfect life, and we compare it to our less than perfect life. When we're only seeing that picture or that 10-second reel, or that 5 or 10-minute YouTube video or whatever it is, it's not real.
No. And I think
it's not real. It's just like rom-coms. Those aren't real. Disney movies, they're not real. It's not. It's really frustrating when I see it, because this is actually one that really irks me. That's on the same topic. But when I see a couple that's out for supper, and they're both just sitting there scrolling on their phones and not being in the moment, right? They're more concerned about being stimulated by their phone and being away from the reality of what is in that moment right then they're never going to get back. Like, that's, to me, it's just sad that the phone is being prioritized.
It's unfortunate, and like the more I know, like I'm gonna keep bringing it up. Like there's your receptors, right? But like every app you download is coded for. There's like how many stars come out when you hit this button or whatever. That's all coded to give you a dopamine reaction. So especially kids, right? You play a game, like remember Candy Crush, how that was like the thing?
Yep.
You win a level, there's a big burst of this. It's like, oh, I did something, blah, blah, blah. Or you get stuck for a while and then you win it, and like you get a dopamine hit out of that. So we know that dopamine is prone to addiction. We know these things. And like you don't have to be a geek like me and go in and like learn all this stuff. But same thing, right? That couple could have just had like a semi-awkward conversation, and now they're running away because they need something. But same with like games. Like I play sports games a ton. For me, it's like the only thing cooler than winning. Like I like winning there, but it feels a lot better when you go like play sports and win. Like, right? Like go outside, go get yourself a win that actually incorporates everything. It's not synthetic. Yeah. And I think a big thing, like I know we've kind of wheeled around the dirty laundry thing, but a lot of what we take and a lot of what our dirty laundry is synthetic, and we've allowed these fake things to take place of real things. So like, do we need to throw it out, or do we need to just open our eyes?
Well, it's one of those things, whereas if we can't see it, it's because we're choosing not to see it. So therein lies, like if you can sit there in the truth and know and admit to ourselves that this is the reality that's happening, but yet we still don't act on changing it, it is equally as silly as driving down the highway, hearing your tire pop, but then turning up the radio to ignore it.
Mm.
That's the same thing, right? Yeah. If you're, we all do it, right? When you're looking for something, you turn the radio down and your eyesight gets better. So. But that'll hark to the stimuli thing, right? Like we've now focused on one stimuli, so we turn down another one. So why, in our entire life, do we need background noise and shows in the background and this in our ear and that?
TV,
so why wouldn't we do the same thing?
Cell phone, laptop on our lap, TV playing,
right?
Like 3 screens in front of you going at the same time.
Exactly. Turn one down.
Like that's all I'm saying. We do it naturally for certain things. It's time that some of us started being like, okay, if it works here, probably is going to work in a bunch of other places, right? So as much as I think is dirty laundry, just be aware of why we're keeping it.
Why we consume the things that we do. Be it actual stimulants like caffeine, be it technology stimulants and whatnot. What is the why? If you don't know the why, ask yourself or figure out what are you distracting yourself from, and what is so bad about your current situation that you feel the need to distract yourself from it.
And I'm going to say chances are if it makes you uncomfortable, it's going to be a lot better and a lot more rewarding for you to be uncomfortable for a little bit, which is the entire premise of why we started this. Being uncomfortable for a short period of time to reach new heights or whatever. Or I like to say, right, you have to go through a valley to get to a new peak. So that's one of the big things is allow yourself to be uncomfortable. And if sitting in a quiet, dark room is uncomfortable, you should probably do it.
Yeah. Go to the movies by yourself. Go to dinner by yourself.
Yeah.
Without your cell phone.
The movies, I'm good with. But
Well,
like,
yeah, it's because there's a giant screen in front of you.
I'll let you know next time I go for dinner by myself. But I'll call you from the only payphone left downtown.
Sounds good. No, we'll just do that. That's all I got for this one, man.
That's it, man. No, that was fun.
All right, this has been another conversation over drinks. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe on whatever platform you're watching it on. Cheers.
All right.